Today we're going to be using standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. In this particular equation, we must have a, b, and c all be integers, meaning there cannot be any fractions for a, b, and c. If there is a fraction, we've got to get rid of it in order to make standard form appropriate. Also, a always must be a positive number. So if it's a negative, we must multiply the entire equation through by a negative in order to make it positive. It needs to be in the correct order, ax plus by equals c. In order to get to standard form, most of the time we start with a point and a slope, just like we've always been given, and we go from point slope to slope intercept to standard form. So let's take a look at an example. Let's look at a slope of negative 7/2 and a point of negative 5/2. So we're going to work this out first, starting with point slope form. So using point slope form, I'm going to say y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, the equation. To plug in, I plug in my point. The y value is 2. So y minus 2 equals, my m value is negative 7/2, times x minus negative 5, which is plus 5. Then, this is point slope form. I'm going to change it to slope intercept by distributing. So here I distribute. So I have negative 7/2 x and a minus 35/2 when I distribute there equals y minus 2. Then I add 2 to both sides. And when I add 2 to both sides, that becomes y equals negative 7/2 x. 2 really becomes a plus 4/2. That way I can combine without a calculator, which then becomes negative 31/2. So this right here is what we call slope intercept form. Then finally, to move to our new form, standard form, I'm going to need the x's to be on the left because I need it to look like ax plus by equals some constant c. So I'm going to move this 7/2 x to the left. So I'm going to add 7/2 x to both sides. When I do that, I have 7/2 x plus y equals negative 31/2. If I'm looking, my a is now positive. However, a, b, and c are not all integers. There are fractions involved. So I have to get rid of the fraction. To get rid of the fraction, I must multiply by the denominator or a common denominator to get rid of it. So I'm going to multiply by 2 every single part. This gives me the 2 cancels right here. So that gives me 7x plus 2 times y is 2y equals here, the 2's cancel here, so it's just negative 31. Again, I check a is positive and I now have all integer values. So this is standard form. Let's take a look at another example. Let's look at a slope of negative 3 with a point of 2, 6. So again, first I start with point slope form. So I input my values, y minus the 6 equals m, which is negative 3, times x minus my x value of 2. This is point slope form. Then I distribute, so that's negative 3x and a plus 6 equals y minus 6. Add 6 to both sides. So y equals negative 3x plus 12. This is slope intercept form. Now I move my x over to the side because remember I'm looking for standard, which has x and y both on the left-hand side. So to do that, I add 3x to both sides. That gives 3x plus y equals 12. Then I check. Are all of them integers? Yes. Is a positive? Yes. So this is standard form. Let's look at one more example. I'm going to be given 2 points this time. So I'm going to have to first find the slope. So my 2 points are 6, -4, and -8, 6. So I'm going to find the slope. I'm going to create an XY chart. 6, -4, -8, 6. My slope here is adding 10. My slope here, or my change in x rather, is subtracting 14. So my slope is 10 over -14. Again, change in y over change in x, which reduces to 5 over -7. I'm going to put my negative on top so that way I don't forget it, but again, it can go anywhere. So now I'm going to use my first point, y minus a -4, which becomes a +4, equals -5/7 times x minus 6. This is point slope. Distribute to get to slope-intercept. So that gives me -5/7 x. Negative times negative is a positive. 30 over 7 equals y plus 4. Subtract 4 from both sides. So that gives me y equals -5/7 x. 4 with a denominator of 7 would be a -28 over 7. 30 minus 28 is 2, so plus 2/7 here. This is slope-intercept form. Then I need to get the x's and the y's to the right in order to get standard form. So to do that, I'm going to add 5/7 x to both sides, which gives me 5/7 x plus y equals 2/7. A is positive, however, we have fractions. So I'm going to multiply everything through by the denominator, which is 7. So the 7's cancel here. That's 5x. 7 times y is 7y equals, the 7's cancel here, so it's 2. So here is my standard form.